Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and holy superheroes, Batman. Today we have a real life superhero on our show. At the young age of 19, he beat out over 1,000 young men to win the coveted role of Robin on the beloved and iconic TV show Batman. For 3 fantastic seasons and a feature film, and in numerous reunion shows, he and the infamous Caped Crusader, Batman, were known as the dynamic duo. They endured unimaginable stunts against the most colorful villains in Hollywood history to save the good people of Gotham City. He is the legendary Burt Ward. Burt, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, citizen.
Burt, I love the fact that as a child, you dreamed of being a superhero and you actually made it happen. And you've said that you don't believe it was an accident. What made you say that?
Well, because I think thoughts are things, Harvey. Well, I'll give you a little background here. I started working at a very young age. My father had what I would call an early age work ethic. So I started working at age 2 as the world's youngest professional ice skater in my father's traveling ice show called Rhapsody on Ice, which was the predecessor of the Ice Capades. So I worked there at 2, and then later on, years later, he sold the show. We moved to Beverly Hills, and I read Superman comic books as a kid. I was a little bit of a loner, and I would come home from school every day and I would look at the Superman comic books. Where we lived, they didn't have Batman comic books. I never even heard the name Batman until after I tried out for the series and got it. So, but I thought about that. So here's what happened and why I say that thoughts are things. Because I was kind of, and I don't know why I was a loner. I guess maybe I was just kind of very introspective about stuff. But I would come home every day after school, and we had a big yard that with all asphalt. It was kind of like a big parking area with a big brick wall or stone wall, excuse me. And I would just daydreaming, take a ball and kick it against the wall and run and kick it against, and just exercise, just doing over and over while I was daydreaming about being Superboy. Now, I realized at my age and my size, I couldn't be Superman, right? But I could be Superboy. And in fact, even before that, when I was 3 years old, my mother has a photo of me on a tricycle, where at 3 years of age, I have a bath towel around my neck, held together with a clothespin, and I wanted to be Superboy at 3 years old. So why I'm saying that thoughts are things is because I honestly believe, we are electrical. You walk along and if you kind of drag your feet on the carpet and you touch something, you get a shock. I mean, we are electrical. And I really believe that the more you think about something, you can bring good things to your life or you can bring bad things to your life. But I kept thinking about it. And I think it's more than coincidental because this is something I dreamed about ever since I was 3 years old, all the way up into I'm in high school. And actually, when I tried out for the part, I was 20 years old and I was turning 21, but I turned 21 after I got the role. And I actually had to go to court with my parents to be approved to sign a contract with 20th Century Fox. But I really believe that thoughts are things. And I think that constantly just thinking about it every single day, every moment had to have some effect.
I think it might well have had an effect. I totally understand that, and it resonates with me.
Well, I'll tell you something you might find interesting. After I got the part, the executive producer, William Dozier, when the first time I saw him after I got the part, he came up to me and said, "Burt, would you like to know why we hired you to play Robin?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I would." He said, "We interviewed 1,100 young actors from all across the country over the last year. And the reason we picked you is because in our mind, forgetting television, forgetting TV, if there really was a Robin, I mean, like the real thing, we think you personally, Burt, would be it. So we don't want you to, quote, act. We actually want you, Burt Ward, to be yourself and be enthusiastic." Well, for me to be enthusiastic is like, right, nothing, right? I have to calm down. I'm overly enthusiastic. So that's what I did for 120 episodes.
I was just going to ask you that. The show ran for 3 seasons from 1966 to 68, 120 episodes. I'm proud to say I've watched all of them and absolutely love them. The show was hugely popular. And the question I hear most often from people is, Why did the network cancel the show when it was getting such high ratings?
Well, I'll tell you, they say the term show business, it is actually show business. And Batman cost an enormous amount of money to make. Whereas the average crew have about 30 people on it. On Batman, they had anywhere from 30 to 80 people at a given time because these effects were so complex to get them to actually work. Giant birthday cakes made up with quicksand, and I mean, just all these amazing effects. So it cost a lot of money, and I understood they were actually losing. Now this is in the 60s, about $300,000 a week every episode making Batman. Well, $300,000 in the 60s is probably like $3 million a week now. And after 120 weeks, probably the equivalent of $500 million, they actually determined from a business standpoint, they had enough shows to rerun forever. And in reruns, they don't get paid as much as original programming, but there's no cost because they've already paid for it. And that's what happened with Batman.
Were you upset when the show ended?
I was saddened. Yes, I really loved it. I loved working with Adam. He and I were like best friends. I mean, we just got along so well. And I really think that part of the success of Batman was that chemistry that we had. We were never told by any director, either Adam or I, in all 120 episodes, ever how to say a line. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, the directors, can you do more of that? Can you show this? They left us alone. And the way I worked with Adam is as debonair and grand as he envisioned himself to be. I mean, and he really thought that way, Harvey. I mean, this guy really thought that way. I would be just the exact opposite. So as statuesque as he would be, I'm a wild and crazy kid. And that contrast, if you think about the great comic duos in history, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon, all of the great comic duos, huge contrast.
Oh, absolutely. And I can see why you were never told how to read a line, because you were being yourself. You really were that enthusiastic and naive, and that's who you were.
And I'll tell you something. Let me give you a quick example of how it actually happened on set during the first episode, the pilot episode. Okay. The scene was we pull up to this warehouse, or supposedly the outside of a warehouse that is being really holding museum artifacts and stuff. And normally you come out the door, right? Well, most of the time I jumped over the door to get out or jumped over the door to get in. But this time, because where we had to end up was behind the Batmobile, instead of opening the door and just coming out and walking to the back, I stood up on the seat, stood up on the door, and walked on this narrow tail fin to the back and jumped off the back. Well, the director says, cut, you can't do that, Burt. Well, why? Well, because we weren't ready for it. Oh, and they said, oh, the cameraman is, I can't believe it. I lost follow focus. They're all going like this, right? And then the director says, wait a minute. Now, I loved what he did. It was totally natural. I mean, it makes sense. And it was so spontaneous. All right, guys, lay out the track. Go get the dolly. We're setting this up. And it took them 45 minutes to light it so that when I stood up and I walked and jumped, they had it on camera and they loved it.
But it was your creation.
Right. It was what I thought. And so throughout the series, I did all kinds of crazy mannerisms like this and that, I just did. And nobody ever criticized. Nobody ever said, oh, don't do that or do this or do that. They never said that. They left me alone.
Burt, I was shocked to learn that you were made to perform your own stunts and that you ended up in the emergency hospital numerous times, including for a broken nose.
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, in the first 4 days of filming, I went to the emergency hospital every day with some disaster. And I'm not an accident person. I had never even been to an emergency hospital in my life. But let me give you a quick example. All right. Day one, This is outside this is up in the hills, Hollywood Hills, at the famous Bronson Canyon, where they're going to have the Bat Cave. And, you know, all the trucks and everything parked outside, had to be in makeup, in costume, 7 a.m. in the morning. And so they said, Burt, okay, the Batmobile is in that cave. Just walk up there and get in the cave. And there you'll see the Batmobile. Get in the Batmobile. And we're going to have you drive off, come out of the Bat Cave and drive off towards Gotham City. I said, fine. So I go up and I go into the cave and it's dark. I mean, you can't see right away. So I was kind of like, well, where's the Batmobile? And then I found the Batmobile and my eyes started to come in focus. And I got in, I sat down, I looked over. And you know how you see something, but something's wrong. It's not quite right. I saw what I thought was Adam there as Batman, but it didn't seem right. I said, Adam? He said, no, I'm Hubie. I said, oh. Well, why are you dressed in Adam's costume? He says, because I'm a stunt man, and this is a very dangerous stunt, and the studio doesn't want to take a chance of Adam West getting hurt. I said, well, that makes sense. And then I sat there for a minute. He said, dangerous? Oh, yeah. He says, we got to come out at 55 miles an hour, straight at the camera. I got to make a sharp left turn. I've got to skid the rear wheels of the Batmobile on the dirt, and then at the right moment, gun it so I don't lose control and zoom off, you know, when the sign goes down, Gotham City, 14 miles. I said, okay. And then I'm sitting there waiting, and then I'm saying, is it really dangerous? He said, absolutely. I said, oh. I said, you like doing stuff like that? He said, listen, the more broken bones I get, the more I get paid. I said, well, I guess that's a way to look at it. And then I said, wait a minute here. If this is dangerous, do I have a stunt man? He said, yeah, you got one. I said, well, that's good. Where is he? Oh, last time I saw him, he was having coffee with Adam West. And then I hear him say, all right, roll it up, get ready to film. I say, whoa, wait a minute. There must be a terrible mistake here. Burt, what's the matter? What's going on? Well, it's a stunt man here. Yeah, we know that. But he's telling me it's a very dangerous stunt. Yeah, we know that. And he's telling me I have a stunt man, but he's drinking coffee with Adam West. Yeah, so what's the big deal? Well, why isn't he here instead of me? Oh, we can't use him, Burt. Oh, okay. Well, why can't you use him? Oh, he doesn't look like you. What? Why would you hire somebody to be my stuntman if he doesn't look like me? Couldn't find anybody else. Oh, and he said, plus, when you come up straight at the camera at 55 miles an hour and he makes that sharp turn, you're going to be within 3 feet of that camera. We're going to see your face perfectly clear. And we can't use him because he has a large nose and he looks like Cyrano de Bergerac. Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, so now I'm preparing, right? So I look down for my seatbelt. No seatbelts. I look for the door handle. No door handle. What am I going to hold on to? The only thing to hold on to was a 1/4 of an inch flexible plexiglass windshield. That, I mean, it's like pinching with your finger. I got to hold on to it 55 miles an hour. Sure enough, I held on to it. Whoa, we come out at 55 miles an hour, straight at the camera. And he makes that sharp left turn. The rear end skids around, but unexpectedly, my door flies open. When my door flies open, it hits the camera truck and it knocks the cameraman and the assistant off the camera truck onto the ground. It knocks over a giant arc lamp that, had it landed on somebody, it would have killed him for sure. And it threw me towards the opening. And as it threw me towards the opening, by just, I guess, out of reaction, I threw my arm behind me. And luckily, I locked my little pinky finger around the gear shift knob. I mean, what a chance in a million for that to happen, but it kept me from falling out. But when it did that, it just ripped my finger right out of the joint. So anyway, now there's a pile of dust and just everywhere, just big dust thing. People are running over. Burt, are you okay? And I said, yes, but my hand is killing me. And even through my green glove, my finger had swollen up twice the size. They said, Burt, we got to get you to the hospital. That's got to be very painful. It's got to be reset. It's going to really hurt, but we got to get you to the hospital. I said, okay, well, where's the car going to take me to the hospital? Oh, well, we can't go now, Burt. Well, we can't go now? Why? We didn't get the shot. Oh, you mean I can't go to the hospital now? No, we got to get the shot. It's costing us like $30,000 every 10 minutes. We can't have you leave for an hour and a half. This is all we have to shoot today. So that was at 7:30 in the morning. And by noon is when I left to go to the hospital after 3 more takes.
Oh my
That was day
God.
one. And then there was a day two and a day three and a day four. And I'll tell you something, the doctor at the emergency hospital, he got to be friendly with me. He said, you know, you really might want to consider some other line of work. I mean, this has got to be a very painful way to make a living. And
You
I'll
know
tell you
what
something,
I think? I
what?
think the producers really took advantage of the fact that you were so young and naive and cooperative. There's no way that a star of a TV show would ever be treated like that today.
No, I don't think so. But let me tell you something. They were very smart producers. They took out a huge multi-million dollar life insurance policy on me. And the thing that I'm concerned about was by the end of the third season, before we closed down, I could swear they were trying to collect on that policy.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people assume that life on the Batman set was glamorous and exciting, but when I look at all the action and the special effects and the stunts on that show, I'll bet it was actually a lot of hard work and probably much more than we all realize.
Well, let me tell you something you might not realize. On a set, and I had to get used to this. First of all, I'm 20 years old, okay? The youngest person on that set besides me is Adam, who's 37 years old. Everybody else, they're all in their 50s and 60s. These are the finest technicians, studio technicians, the best of the best, but they're all older guys and sometimes older ladies. And so as a result, I really didn't have anybody my age to talk to or relate to. And the way it works on a set, just imagine this giant building. It's like a block long and it's so tall. And you're by yourself 99% of the time, and you wait 45 minutes to 55 minutes, sometimes an hour, to light a scene that you work for 30 seconds.
Wow.
And because I have a photographic or near photographic memory, I knew my lines every single time. I was known like doing things on the first take. So you do it, I work for 30 seconds and then wait another 45 minutes. Then you do another 30. I mean, believe me, that you know, and the thing is that you say, people say, well, Burt, I guess the positive thing is you could get some good books and read your books. But let me tell you what happens. It's the strangest thing when you're on a set and they've just finished the shot and you think, okay, well, I got another 45 minutes, which is true. And you sit down. Oh, makeup says they need you in makeup. Oh, okay. Oh, wardrobe says they need you to come over. They want to try a different pair of slacks or pants or boots or whatever. Okay. In other words, you never have a minute's peace. You know?
Wow. You know, Burt, I don't know how to put this delicately, but is it true that the network received complaints because of the bulge in your tights?
Yes, yeah. Well, you have to understand, Batman was the #1 and #2 show in the entire world, Harvey, in the entire world. And everybody seemed to want to get in on it. In other words, you had psychiatrists trying to analyze the relationship, you know, and all of this stuff. Well, the Catholic Legion of Decency complained that Robin had too big of a bulge. Okay, well, man was not built for tights, right, Harvey? I mean,
No.
okay, all right. So anyway, but all these wardrobe guys, oh, they were thrilled. They tried to come down with every contraption in the world to reduce the swelling, and none of it worked, of course. But they did find a quack doctor that gave me these pills that and that really worked. But after 3 days, I said, you know, I might be like never be able to have children in my life, and I don't want that. So I stopped taking the pills, and I used my cape to cover.
You know, you were a boy wonder in more ways than one. Burt, you wrote a memoir in 1995 called Boy Wonder, My Life in Tights. The book has become a collector's item now, and it's really hard to get. Is there any chance that you'll do another release or put it out as an ebook?
Yeah, you know, I might do that. Let me tell you something. The way my life is that anything I do, I go at full speed, which is like 100 miles an hour. There is no, you know, slow, medium. I mean, it's like 100 miles an hour. And if I do anything, it's 100%. It's not like, oh, tone this down or better not say this or well, better go a little easy there. Oh, no, straight ahead. And during the 60s, this is a different world in the 60s than it is today. This was a period of the flower children and the free love and everybody was just all these romantic encounters and Batman and Robin. I mean, we had a gigantic fan base. I mean, of children loving Batman and Robin for the hero worship, the adults loving Batman and Robin for the nostalgia of the comic book. And the teenagers and college kids during the 60s, they were the most irrelevant group. I mean, they never wanted to watch television inside. They want to be cruising the drive-ins on a Friday night, you know, and trying to pick up the chicks. I mean, that's the way they talk. So to get that audience, we use the double meanings, the insinuations, the campy style. We used to say that we put on our tights to put on the world. So when I wrote my book, everything in that book is true, but at the same time, it's in the Batman campy style. So you're never really sure, well, that really happened? You know, that kind of a thing, you know, and, but it's all true. And so, and it's very wild. Okay. And I must tell you, I was just an average kid. I grew up in a very conservative household. And I come into show business and I have my dear friend, Adam West, who was a wild and crazy guy. I loved him. I mean, I met him. I did the actual screen test with Adam, and I met him like 15 minutes before the screen test. And I sat down next to him. They introduced us, and I started to talk to him. In 5 minutes, the two of us were laughing. We never stopped laughing for over 50 years. We just got along so great.
You know, in your book, you talk about the impact on you and Adam West of sudden fame. And let's face it, you were both single, handsome, very
Right.
much sought after by every woman on the planet. When you look back at the young Burt Ward, do you have any regrets about how you coped with your life back then?
No, because I only lived my life honestly. I never knew anything else. I'll tell you one thing that people seem to be really surprised about. I didn't get kicked around as a young actor before getting the role. I must tell you something. I've been to so many interviews and I've seen other actors there. And you know, if you're a window washer and people don't like the way you wash windows, it's not you. It might be something you do, but it's not you as a person. But when you're an actor, you are the product. And if someone says, "Oh no, I'm not interested," these young actors, guys and gals, they're devastated. I mean, they're damaged emotionally. And you have to understand, Batman was the first thing I ever went out with to try out for. I'd been studying acting professionally. I was studying at UCLA, but I'd never been on an interview. So when I went to see this casting director, which by the way, the agents that I had, they had no idea what I was for. I had no idea what it was for. And the casting director didn't even say what it was for. Just asked me a couple of questions and said, "Would you like to meet the executive producer?" I said, "Sure." I figured everybody got to meet the executive producer. Well, that's not true, but I didn't know that. So I went to another bungalow at 20th Century Fox and I met the executive producer. And maybe because I wasn't fearful, I just walked in and said, "Hello, sir." And I shook his hand and he's like, "Oh my God, this guy is nice, but aggressive, you know?" And he said, looked at me and said, "Well, you're kind of big for the part." I said, "Oh, but sir, I promise you, I won't grow anymore." And he laughed. I mean, like, how could you stop growing, right? And then he said, "Would you like to do a screen test?" I said, "Sure." I figured everybody got to do a screen test. Well, that's not true either. But I didn't know that. So that's when I ended up doing the screen test, and they wanted somebody athletic. I was a brown belt in karate. This is in 1965. Karate had only come to the United States in 1959, so most people didn't even know about it. And I broke a board with my hand, and I did some judo falls with a friend. And then I did this spot with Adam. Adam and I together, I did a scene as Dick and Bruce. I was given this script. It wasn't even a script. It was a single sheet of paper with paragraphs, and it just said Bruce. And then a paragraph. Didn't say Bruce Wayne, didn't say Dick Grayson, just said Bruce and Dick. And I did that. And then I said, "Well, thank you very much." And I started leaving. I said, no, we have one more thing for you to do. "Oh, okay, what's that?" "Well, we have over there on the other side of the soundstage, we have two wardrobe men who are waiting in a trailer to help you get dressed." I said, "Well, no disrespect, but I'm perfectly capable of dressing myself." "Oh, no, you don't understand. You just go over there, you look for that trailer, you'll see the lights on, you go in there, they're going to help you get dressed." All right. I go over there, I go into the trailer. Sure enough, these two guys, and there's this giant mattress looking like a giant couch or something. Tons of stuff on there. And I said, "Am I going to put some of this on?" They said, "No, you're going to put all of it on." I said, "What?" And they got me dressed in the most uncomfortable costume, Harvey, in my entire life. I have never been so miserable. I mean, the mask, irritated my eyelashes. And, if you irritate your eyelashes, it throws you off. Plus, you could only see straight. I nearly broke my neck coming stepping down out of the trailer when I couldn't see down, right? I mean, and the cape pulled my neck back, double thick bridal satin. The wool vest poked my chest. The tights pinched the hair on my leg. I'm telling you, I was a miserable young guy. But being a positive person, on my way out the door, I remember turning to these two guys. I said, well, the good news here is after another 15 or 20 minutes, I'll never have to wear this costume again.
Oh,
famous last words, right?
wow. That's just amazing. And tell me a little bit about Adam West. In your book, you made it clear that there were some rocky roads in that friendship and he disappointed you a few times, but you remained very close friends right to the end, didn't you?
Yes. Well, Adam had a philosophy: what's his is his, and what's yours is negotiable. In other words, and actually on that Conan show that I did, Conan asked me about Adam. I said, he's a wonderful guy. I love him. You just can't trust him around your wife or your pocketbook. And actually true, you know? But Adam, you still, when you understood his nature, I mean, it's like he's still an amazing, wonderful, crazy human being that you just have to, you know, just have to be careful at the same time and protect yourself, because he would do things, little things like you'd be having a two-shot and he would step on my lines. In other words, like he would have a paragraph and he would speak so slowly. I'm going like this. And then I would have a line like, "You're right, Batman." And as fast as I just said it, I'd say, "You're right. Yes, Robin." And he'd cut my line off. The director said, "Adam, you cut his line off. You got to let him speak. Those 3 words are Burt's words. You're right, Batman. You got to let him have that." "Oh, well, I couldn't." "Well, why couldn't you?" "Well, I was motivated. I had to come in at that moment." "Well, Adam, unmotivate yourself and go back and reshoot this shot." Right? Or we'd be doing a 2-shot and he'd turn and big broad shoulders and he'd walk right up to the camera. He'd come so close to the camera, you couldn't see his cowl. All you could see is his mouth. And they say, "Cut, Adam, what are you doing? This is a 2-shot. Get back on your marks and start talk with Burt." And you know, he was always trying. And most of the time he got caught, but once in a while he'd get away with it.
So on top of upstaging you, I also read that he was quite the practical joker. And did he and Vincent Price pull a number on you with a bunch of eggs once?
Yes, yeah. Well, it was a major fight scene in the Egghead show with Vincent Price. And the scene is that I've been captured. Vincent Price has got my head in with a kind of a neck hold with his arm, and Batman bursts into the room, and Egghead cracks an egg on my head and says something. Batman says something back. Egghead cracks another egg on my head. Batman says something, and then they start to fight. Well, they decide to play a little joke on me. So both of them purposely missed their lines for 12 takes. I had 24 eggs broken on my head. And it doesn't hurt the first couple too, but as you get 24 eggs, it actually hurts, okay? And by the time that they got it right, they thought it was so funny. Okay, well, let me tell you, I got even. So I was, when the fight scene ensued, I was supposed to pick up a half a dozen eggs and throw them at Egghead. I picked up an entire dozen eggs. And I went over and I hit him so hard on his egg that it moved the egg on his head. Okay, that's how hard I hit him on the egg. All right, and they left it in there. Okay, but it was like I was furious, you know. And I mean, I had egg shampoo down my neck, in my tights, in my shorts, all the way on my legs. My ankles had it. My vest, my cape, everything, egg everywhere. And they just thought that was the funniest thing.
And you worked with Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, Julie Newmar, Eartha Kitt, and Vincent Price. Can you share some special memories of working with these legends? I mean, you were very young and you're working with superstar legends.
Yes. Well, think of it this way. I was like the kid in the candy store where everything is bright and beautiful. So many times people say, "Well, what was your favorite star?" or something like that. I said, "No, you don't understand. Every one of these guest stars was somebody that I either watched on television or watched them in a movie." So for me, it was like, wow, every one of these was impressive. And there were so many amazing stars. In fact, there's so many stars that wanted to be on the show because it became #1 and #2 in the entire world, that they couldn't accommodate them. So the producers created this walking up the wall where Batman and Robin are climbing the wall and a window opens and there's a celebrity. The first one was Sammy Davis Jr. Then there was Jerry Lewis, Don Ho, Colonel Klink. I mean, from just Betty White, all these people, all these celebrities. And there were hundreds that couldn't get on because they only had, one of those per show.
I heard that Cesar Romero was a consummate professional.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This man, he had this, I don't know how to say it, this aura of incredible dignity. And he never made a mistake. I mean, never did anything, never had a correction. They might say, well, can you go over here when you do this or that? But in terms of his work, you couldn't, it was perfect every time, no matter how many times they made him do it. Where somebody else in the scene or something didn't work, the lighting wasn't right. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many things could go wrong.
Oh, I can. It was a complicated show. And then after Batman ended, Adam West spoke openly about the challenges of finding good roles when you've been typecast the way he and you were. But you went on to work in over 40 TV shows and TV movies over the years. I really liked you in Virgin High. Are you happy with the career you've had, Burt?
Absolutely. I mean, let me tell you something. The way I look at it is this. You win some, you lose some. So let me give you a perfect example. After the first season, when I did the Batman movie, in the second season, there was a hiatus coming up. That's a period when you're not filming, all right? We filmed 9 months of the year in order to do 6 months of program because it was basically almost twice a week type of thing. So a young producer at 20th Century Fox named Larry Turman came up to me in the second season. He said, Burt, I'm a young producer here at Fox. I've got a very low budget, small movie that Fox is okay me to direct and produce. And I'd love to hire you to play this role. And we can even do it during your hiatus when you're not filming Batman. I said, geez, I'd love to do that. Okay. And the studio, they were fine with it. Everything was fine. But it got to the network and the network heard about it. The people at ABC didn't want me to do it. They didn't want me to dilute my character as Robin. They thought for me appearing in another project would somehow make my appearance as Robin less believable. And they insisted to 20th Century Fox that they not allow me to do it. And I couldn't do it. And I felt bad. And by the way, the name of the movie you might have heard of, it's called The Graduate.
Oh.
Dustin Hoffman did the role when they couldn't get me. You think that might have been a little bit life-changing? So you win some, you lose some. And Harvey, the way I look at it is this. If you have a glass, okay, and the glass is full, the glass can be full with a whole bunch of different projects, or the glass can be full with one major project and some smaller projects. The glass is still full. So for me, my glass in my life as a performer is totally full.
I think that's amazing. And you never seem to get tired of being interviewed about the Batman show. You always make yourself available to your fans after all these years.
Well, I enjoy doing that. And, I've always felt comfortable. And one thing I started to tell you earlier, and I didn't get into it, is that a lot of people that have success, it can go to their head a little bit. But for me, maybe it's because I was never kicked around and rejected or whatever. But I never thought of myself ever as anything different as I was before the show. And when I would make appearances, and literally they would be lines for hours, people would stand in lines either to meet me alone or to meet me and Adam together as Batman and Robin. And I would sit there with my costume on, with my mask on. And I know this is kind of a strange thing to say it, but I kind of envisioned myself when I was looking through the mask as though I was looking at television. And, if you're looking at television, all kinds of things can go on, but you're not there. I mean, you're looking at television. So when I see people come up and they're all fawning and this and that, and, oh, I wanted this, and, oh, would you do this, and all that stuff, I was like somebody in their living room watching television through this mask, and it never affected me. And what was so really funny is that I could take off my costume after the appearance, and so many people, and afterwards they're kind of milling around. I mean, literally thousands of people. And I could go out in my regular civilian clothes right among those same people, and nobody would know it was me. And this is the one complaint that Adam and I had with the studio when we would come in the show, Commissioner Gordon's office. Okay, here we'd come in as Batman and Robin, right? The height difference and this and that, and then we'd leave, and then we'd come back as Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, and they would never figure out that we were the same thing, the same people. And I said, that's not realistic. And yet, you know something? In the real world, it actually happened.
Really? And the fact that you saw yourself watching TV when you were making these personal appearances makes me see that you actually compartmentalized your personality. You knew when you were Robin and you knew when you weren't, and you never allowed Robin to become you.
That's right. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it is another funny thing when, like, and I had to do these movies recently, last couple of years, 2 full-length animated features. Adam West did the voice of Batman. I did the voice of Robin. And in the last one, William Shatner played the villain. But in any event, the thing is that people say to me, gee, Burt, what is it like? You know, I mean, is it hard for you to get back in the role? So no. Why? Why is this not hard for you? Because it was me. It's easy to be me. I don't have to do anything to be me. Nothing changed. And when I was recording the last movie, something unusual happened. I was doing the recording, and I noticed the people in the recording booth, the producers there, directors there, and then of course the people that operate the equipment, and they're all laughing. And I'm saying, geez, am I doing something wrong? I mean, they all have the script. They know what I'm going to say, right? I mean, why are they laughing? And then they stopped for a break. The executive producer came out. He says, Burt, everyone in that sound booth is blown away. I said, why? Burt, you sound exactly like you sounded 50 years ago. I mean, it is almost scary. Every one of us in there is blown away. And that's what they were going nuts about, because there was no change in my voice when I portrayed Robin, and I said things the way Robin says them.
That is amazing, even talking to you now. On January 9th, 2020, you got your star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and I watched the video of your speech. And I must tell you, Burt, I was so touched by it because you encouraged young people to follow their dreams. Congratulations, Burt. That was so well deserved.
Well, thank you. It was, you know, I tell you something, what a great honor. Not every actor or performer gets their star on Hollywood Boulevard. They really look for people that do more than just be a performer, that you really have to be involved in charity work and do something to try to make the world a better place. They're very, very dedicated to that. It was a great honor. I must tell you, I waited 50 years. I tell people, Harvey, I am a patient person, but 50 years? Don't you think that's a little long to wait?
Well, your fans remember you so well that for us, it felt like it was just another step in your legacy. And I do want to talk to you now about your charity work. You and your beautiful wife, Tracy, are well known as high-profile animal activists. In 1994, you created Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions, which is a dog rescue charity. You're following in the tradition of celebrities like Doris Day, Bob Barker, Betty White, who've done so much for animal welfare. Thank you so much for doing this, Burt.
Well, let me tell you how this came about in a nutshell was that my wife and I were living right at the beach, beautiful house overlooking the water. And when in Los Angeles, the property is so valuable at the beach that everybody goes straight up, right? You don't have much property around it, but you can have we had 4 stories overlooking the water. And we had a daughter. And the first time my daughter at 3 years of age walked out on that 4th story balcony, I said, that's it. We're moving. I'm not going to have her be a wreck to think that my poor child could fall off that balcony, even though I had all kinds of fencing up there and child fencing and all that stuff. So we moved about an hour east of LA, halfway between Los Angeles and Palm Springs, to an animal-friendly community. It's an amazing community where horses have the right of way over cars. It's the last Western town in America. Every commercial building has to have a Western theme. Structurally, has to have horse tie-ups in front. I mean, it's amazing. And we decided to get our daughter a dog. And I had always liked Great Danes. My wife grew up with Irish Wolfhounds. It turned out that we found about a Great Dane that needed to be rescued. It was in a dire situation. It was going to go to a shelter, and unfortunately, most dogs in shelters, in fact, all of the dogs in shelters, if they don't get adopted, get put to sleep. So we took this Great Dane, and then we heard another one needed rescue. And long story short, we found out that the person, every breed of dog has a rescue. So there's a German Shepherd rescue, there's a Great Dane rescue, there's a St. Bernard rescue, Chihuahua rescue. But the person who was rescuing Great Danes in Southern California herself had died. And there was nobody, and they were all being put to death all over Southern California. And it was the first week in August of 1994, I said to my wife, Tracy, we can't let these dogs die. How about just for a couple of weeks till we find somebody else to take this over? Let's just save these dogs. Harvey, it's been 26 years. Okay, nobody has come to rescue me. But by the end of August of 1994, that's only 3.5 weeks after we started, in my home, I had 102 Great Danes, full-size Great Danes, 102. Not in a yard, not in another building, not with other foster homes, in my home that had access to every place in my home. 102 plus 62 puppies under 7 weeks of age. We got calls from all these animal shelters. Oh, a pregnant Great Dane came in here, had their litter, or we just took a litter away from somebody abusing their dogs, and we got to get them out of the shelter because potential disease. And so my wife, Tracy, was having to care for 7 litters at the same time. And she was sleeping on our kitchen floor because the mothers, you have to connect, make sure the babies all get connected. And when the mother's finished nursing, she stands up to go to the bathroom. If she steps on a Great Dane puppy, she'll kill it because of her size. So you got to make sure no puppies are in the way. You put the mother outside, you come and take the babies, you incubate them in a warm area, okay, while they're sleeping and resting after nursing, and you bring in the next litter. And by the time you get finished with the 7th litter, it's time to start nursing the first litter. My wife got no sleep for like 2 months till those puppies got bigger. But here's the thing. We saw these dogs and loving and so gentle. They are gentle giants. Believe it or not, the bigger the dog, the more gentle the dog. Why? Because they're not intimidated by human beings. We have dogs that are far bigger than us. Far bigger. I have one dog that stands on his hind legs, 7 feet 5 inches tall, 4 inches taller than Shaquille O'Neal, and weighs 285 pounds. And he's pure muscle. And yet I can hold him with my little finger, his collar, and he's just so pliable, you can take him anywhere you want. But here's the thing. They don't live very long. The bigger the dog, traditionally, they have short lifespans. Mastiffs and Irish Wolfhounds only live 6 to 8 years. Great Danes normally only live 7 to 9 years. And if we didn't adopt one, and we had one, and it died on us, we were devastated. And Tracy and I vowed that if we could, we would find a way to help these dogs live longer.
And you did it.
We did. We first created a feeding and care program that really works. On average, every single dog in this program was living 3 to 5 years longer and healthier just by the way you care for them and how you feed them. We actually feed dogs differently than other people do. Okay, that was another thing. Then we got to a point where we said, is there anything else? Well, how about, since we're running our own rescue, it's consumed our lives. I can't do anything else with 100 dogs in my house, right? How about we make our own food, okay? We made our own food, and we went to make our food. Harvey, we found out something so upsetting, it has changed my life forever. And here's what we found out, that every pet food company knows something the average person doesn't know, which is the more fat content you put in the pet food, the hungrier it makes the pet. And the hungrier it makes the pet, the more they eat. The more they eat, the more pet food you have to buy. And the sad thing is, it shortens their lives significantly because the animal is under stress of always being hungry. So we didn't do that. We made our food. We didn't put in excessive fat. We didn't put in excessive protein. The reason they put in excessive protein is you go to a pet store and you see these bags, they've done consumer testing that the one with the most protein, the person's going to buy thinking they're getting more bang for their buck and their dog is getting a better, when it's not better. In any event, we found that we were able to get our dogs to live incredibly long lives. Harvey, our dogs are living up to 27 years. The real thing. I mean, we have the medical records, 27 years. Now, that's not every dog. The best we've done with Great Danes is 22 years. but that's still triple their normal lifespan. With cats, we lost 2 cats last year. One was 31 years old. The other was 32 years old. And they were eating our dog food. They had cat food there, but they wanted our dog food. So we took our dog food, went back to the same 4 top nutritionists in the country that we could hire, and had them redesign that for cats. And now we have our Gentle Giants dog food and our Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, which we never intended to sell. We take no salary from. This is not about money. This is all about life. And because our food works and we have people writing to us that their dogs, that their vets say, well, this dog's going to die. And they say, well, if it's going to die, I'm going to take him off your prescription food and I'll put him on Gentle Giants to live the last few weeks of his life. But they didn't die. They kept on living. And dogs, people write to us and said, my puppy was 9 years old. He stopped jumping up on the bed. He's, you know what I mean? For the last 3 years, he's 12 years old. I just started him on your food. After 5 weeks, he's jumping up on the bed again. Thank you for giving me my puppy back. I mean, so, people and they're writing to us. Their dogs are living. One man wrote and said, I've been feeding Gentle Giants to my shepherd for 15 years. He just died. He was 23 years old. A German Shepherd, 23. It works. And we take no salary from this.
This is amazing. I just want our viewers to know that the website for Gentle Giants pet food is gentlegiantspetproducts.com.
Right. And our website for reading about our feeding care program is gentlegiantsdogfood.com. And on that, if they would only go to our website, gentlegiantsdogfood.com, where they can read about our special feeding and care program. When you combine that feeding and care program with a food that is completely different from other people's dog food, that's when you get the results. And by the way, something else that I think your listeners and viewers would really like to know, on our website, on that same section of special feeding and care program on our Gentle Giants dog food website, at the bottom of that page is a video that we actually got from another website. That other website's all about genetically modified organisms. I'm sure you've heard about that. Well, we took this video, okay, and we put it on our website because it had all these veterinarians talking about their practice over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And these are from all over the United States. There's a couple there from UK, and they're all basically saying the same thing, which is 10, 15, 20 years ago, okay, they would see 1 patient a month that had cancer. Now, every single day, 1 out of every 2 patients they see has cancer. And they attribute that to the genetically modified organisms in food. As an example, rice, Harvey. In the United States, rice, 98% of the rice is GMO rice, genetically modified. And you say, well, why would they do that? Well, because if you grow rice and it's attacked by pests, and you spray a pesticide on it, it kills the plant. So when you genetically modify it and the pests attack the plant, and the plant doesn't die and it produces the rice, but the plant absorbs the pesticides. And dogs and cats' bodies, animals' bodies are not as well as designed to human. They don't have the ability to reject the poisons, okay? Not that humans can completely reject, we can't. And that's why you hear about things like Roundup and people getting cancer. But with dogs and cats, it's much more severe. And that's why all these dogs and cats, but we're one of the only ones, maybe the only one that has no GMOs in our food, which costs us twice as much to make. And yet, because we take no salary, our food actually sells cheaper than other brands.
I'm so impressed, Burt. I think it's a wonderful way for you to spend these years in your life doing something so meaningful for animals. And I want to thank you for telling us all about it. And I want to wish you the best of luck with your charity, the pet food company. And thanks for keeping the legacy of Batman alive all these years.
Well, thank you very much. I would like just to add one thing. If anybody wants to get our food, it's in Walmarts, both all throughout the United States, and Walmarts in Canada, and throughout the United States Target stores, as well as other local grocery stores. So it is available and online with all the online companies if you decide you want to get it for your dog. And by the way, you know that on the back of every bag of our food is a phone number. And when they call that phone number, they reach Tracy or me, because we personally talk to our customers. We help them with their issues. And we get about 1,100 people a week, Harvey, that call in asking questions. Well, how do I feed this? Or what do I do about that? Or is this something I should take my dog to the vet for? And because my wife, Tracy, works 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 26 years caring for dogs, she has so much knowledge that she helps all these people, and it's all for free. How can you beat the price? It's free help.
How do you find the time, and where do you get the energy, Burt?
I don't know. I'll tell you something. I will say one thing, and I say this to everybody. If you interviewed my wife, Harvey, you interviewed my wife, Tracy, Harvey, first before you interviewed me, or at the same time, you would think I was a mute. She can out-talk me 10 to 1. You would think, gee, Burt doesn't talk. I guess he doesn't talk, huh?
I would be delighted
so
to
full
have
of energy. And the two of us, you should see us fighting to get any words in with each other, because both of us are trying to talk at the same time. It is an amazing, wonderful 32 years of marriage. And she just has boundless energies, my wife, Tracy. Amazing kind of person.
Well, you know, I followed your career all along. I've been a huge fan, and I've never seen you this happy.
No. And you know something? I have a suggestion for your viewers. I would like to tell you what the three, excuse me here, sorry, shut that off.
That's Gotham City again?
Oh, it's Commissioner Gordon. There must be a heinous villain there. But I was going to say, do you know that there are 3 essentials to happiness that I would like to tell you to your viewers, okay? 3 essentials guarantee happiness. And here's what they are. 1, someone to love. 2, something to do. And 3, something to look forward to. If you have those 3 things, you have happiness.
Well, if you had any idea how much I love you and how much I've been looking forward to this interview, you will know that I'm a very happy guy right now.
There you go. Absolutely. Harvey, I want to thank you for this wonderful interview for several reasons. 1, I love it when somebody is a real pro, so it makes it so easy to work with. And so it makes it so easy for me to be myself and to get my message across for your viewers, as well as just the satisfaction of having worked with somebody who's very professional. So that's number 1. But number 2, I think you got a great show and you ask great questions and you listen. Oh my gosh, what a gift to not only ask questions, but to listen and respond with follow-up questions. So I have to say, holy impressed person that I am with you, Harvey. You are a pretty cool guy.
Thank you so much, Burt, for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to talk to me and share your history, your career, your life with our viewers. I'm a huge fan. I can't thank you enough, Burt.
Well, thank you for having me. And as we said on Batman, to the Batmobile, citizen!
Our guest has been the iconic legend, Robin himself, Burt Ward. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Remember to subscribe to the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. And be sure to check out more great interviews with Harvey Brownstone on harveybrownstoneInterviews.com.